Welcome to the StoryADay podcast. This is Julie Duffy, encouraging you to be a writer today, not someday. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Julie here from StoryADay, and I wanted to talk to you this week, kind of following on from last week where I talked about minding the gap between getting started when everything's exciting and when you're in the middle and you're trying to make the habit stick, to the P of persistent progress when everything feels a little easier again and you get to focus with your systems in place. You get to focus on doing the actual creative work that you want to be doing. And I wanted to sort of expand on that a little bit this week because I really want you to feel this opportunity that exists for you to be writing. And to be writing really great, creative stuff that reflects your talent and your interests and your growing skills. And I was having a conversation with some people in the Superstars group this week, and it became clear that a lot of us as creative people have a problem with limits, and we don't want to be boxed in. And we've got this thing in our head about how being creative means that everything has to be up for grabs. When the truth is, and I'm gritting my teeth as I say this because it's taken me so long to realize this, systems matter. Systems can set us free to do the creative work. I like the word systems a lot better than I like the word routine. I have a knee-jerk reaction to the word routine. So systems seems like, because a system is a dynamic thing, right? Routine sounds a little static. And as creative people, I think we always want to feel like there's that room for dynamism. But if you think about a system for your writing life, it's not a box I want to put you in. It's the scaffolding over which you get to drape the beautiful, creative cladding of whatever your work and your stories want to be. And I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but the town that I live in Pennsylvania was famous in the 1800s, I guess, for its ironworks. And they invented a thing there called the Phoenix Column. And it was the Phoenix Ironworks, and they invented the Phoenix Column, which was this fluted column. So it's not just a column, it's not just a circular cylinder, it's got these ridges down the sides which give it extra strength, so that people were then able to build taller structures without masonry. They were able to build these bridges across amazing spans, which in the era of rail expansion was absolutely crucial. I mean, this is a bumpy country, and if you want to go west, you're going to have to cross some ravines, and there's still lots of these Phoenix ironworks truss bridges, which you can find all over the country. And sometimes if you're interested in railways and bridges, if you look up what a truss bridge is, if you come across a truss bridge, quite often you'll find a plaque on it saying Phoenix Ironworks, and you can give it a little pat and say, "Hi, Julie," because I live in the town where they were invented. Anyway, that was a sidebar. My point is, by putting this new structure in place, this new strength on just a column of iron, the inventors enabled amazing things to happen. They enabled massively heavy steam engines to cross spans that were, previously uncrossable because you couldn't have built masonry piles to support those bridges. When we put story structure under our stories, it becomes not just a series of anecdotes, but a story that's going somewhere, that's achieving something, that's pulling the reader along with them, that is much more powerful. When we put systems under our writing life, we free ourselves up to get to the writing faster. So if you know that you're going to be at your desk at the same time every day, or at the same time on a Saturday morning, or that you know where your notebook and pen are, your favourite notebook and your favourite pen. If you always know where they are, that's kind of a system that you've put in place to make it easy for you to get to the writing. So I would encourage you to think about structure as scaffolding rather than something that's boxing you in. And then last week I talked about this idea of the short list of things that you should look for if you are thinking about participating in an event. I love acronyms, as you may have noticed, and that's all part of me trying to put systems in place so that I remember what works. Because once I've created a system that works, I am creative. I'm going to try and reinvent it. If I slap an acronym on it, then I know there are 4 steps or 4 things I have to remember. And then that's kind of a system for making sure that I don't waste time reinventing the wheel or the system. So last week's acronym was LIST, which was when you're thinking about going to an event or taking a course, you want to think about what you're going to be, if you're more interested in learning, implementation, support, and how much trust you have for the organisers of the event. And now it's going to sound a little bit self-serving because I'm about to invite you to an event. I've got a free workshop coming up in a couple of weeks, and it's called the Writer Code, and that itself is another acronym because, as I say, I love to figure out the system that's supporting the things that work, and then break it down into steps and then slap an acronym on them so that I remember what the steps are. And in the Writer Code, the steps that I talk about are the things that we go through as writers. Writing is not just sitting down and writing. There's a lot more to it than just putting words on the page, as you've no doubt discovered. And sometimes that can feel a little scattered or overwhelming. You know, there's the writing, the revising, there's getting better at what you do, there's sending stuff out, there's sharing, there's marketing your work. There's so many pieces of being a writer. And when you say to people, I'm a writer, they tend to think that you sit at your desk and type. And there's like a lot more to it than that. So I put together this workshop and I ran it for the first time last year and got some amazing feedback. I mean, people were just really heartfelt feedback about what they experienced going through the workshop, about the tips that I gave and the exercise, especially on day 2, which got them writing. So I'm going to be sending out an invitation to sign up for that workshop again. It's going to be running in the 3rd week of April. I'm looking at my calendar. Is it the 3rd week? More or less the 3rd week of April. And next week I'm going to send out an invitation to anybody who wants to sign up for that free workshop, the Writer Code. It's going to teach you how to put scaffolding in place that makes it easier and more fun to build a writing practice and to fit it into the life that you actually have. Not some mythical life that you might have one day, not some ideal life that somebody else has. You don't need to wait until you have the time and space and money to build a shed in the garden to write in. This is about building a writing practice that fits your life right now so that you can get writing done right now. So that's coming out next week. And in terms of my shortlist, if you want to know how this fits into that, there's going to be learning. You're going to be learning about mindset. You're going to be learning about some techniques for writing. And there's going to be implementation. So it's going to be heavy on the L and the I, because I'm going to give you exercises to do that you're going to go away and do and then come back and report on. So there's going to be a certain amount of support as well, just in terms of blog comments, and you can comment on the workshop pages and I'll be in there looking at your comments and responding to them. And hopefully there's a huge measure of trust because you've been listening to me on this podcast for a while, or you've been coming to Story a Day for a while, and you kind of like my vibe, and you know I've been doing this for a long time. I've been running Story a Day for this is actually the 12th May that we'll be doing Story a Day, and I've worked with writers since the late 90s actually. So, not giving too much away about my age there. But that's what's coming up this week. And then, of course, we've got the Story a Day Challenge coming up starting on the 1st of May. So hopefully you are out there collecting your story sparks, warming up your writing a little bit, rolling your shoulders back, thinking about what you're going to do to support your, the meat sack that carries your brain around. I'm trying to clean up my act a little bit this month to make sure I've got the strength to get through it all, because it's amazing how tiring thinking and tapping keys on a keyboard can be. So I'm back to, like doing my strength exercises for my upper back so that I don't hunch, and I'm drinking lots of water, and I would encourage you to think about those things too, because this is a whole body experience going through an intense writing event. I'd also encourage you to come over to the blog at storyaday.org and sign up for the mailing list so that I can let you know when I'm opening the doors for that free workshop that's coming up, free masterclass. Because I've reworked it from last year. Last year it was a workshop. This year I've reworked it, tweaked it, re-recorded everything, put more stuff in. So I'm calling it a masterclass this time because it's coming with like all of the experience that I got with your feedback last year. So even if you've been through it before, I would encourage you to come through it again. This is a fun time of year where I live. The spring is springing, energy is coming back into the world, and we're just revving up for StoryADay May. So I hope that this has inspired you a little bit to put some structure into your writing life, to not be afraid of structure. And on that note, I'm going to come back in a minute with the writing prompt, which is another form of structure that you can put around your writing, because when you use a writing prompt, and there's going to be lots of them coming in May in May during the challenge as well, so get ready. When you use a writing prompt, it limits what you can write about. You could write about anything, which is a little overwhelming, or you can look at a prompt and you can think, how can I make my ideas line up with this? One of the things we talked about in the Superstars group this week, we had a discussion about this, and we were talking about the fact that sometimes if you try and hew too closely to the prompt, it can be a bit stifling. So remember, as you're working with writing prompts, that they're just there to spark you. There's no rule that says, certainly not around here, that says you must use everything that's in this prompt or you're somehow disqualified. Like, that's not how I run things here. You get the prompts so that your brain just has something to start ticking over. If you want to get in practice with that, there's an awesome prompt at the website this week. It is a flash fiction prompt, and it literally uses flash because I've got an image which is taken with flash photography. So if you go over there, the prompt is at storyaday.org/wow for Write on Wednesday, because I always post them on Wednesdays. Then it's -flash-moment. Or you can just go to the front page of the site and scroll down, or click on the link in the notes. You know what to do. You know the drill. I don't need to teach you how to listen to podcasts. That's it for this week. I'm going to let you go, do some writing, do some warm-up writing. If you have any comments or questions, come over to the blog and leave them on that writing prompt. If you want to get in touch with me directly, you can get me at podcast@storyaday.org. And I hope you have a wonderful writing week. And I'll see you back here next week. Thanks for listening. Why not come over to the blog at storyaday.org and check out this week's writing prompts and articles. And in the meantime, have a great creative week. And of course, keep writing.